Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something that I think, it haunts a massive portion of the population. You start learning a skill, let's say a language, and you hit the ground running. You get the app, you learn the basics, you can order a coffee, but then you just hit a wall.
The dreaded plateau.
Exactly, the plateau. And for our listeners today, we're focusing on a really specific one. We're looking at what some call intermediate purgatory, or the B1, B2 level.
Right.
You're not a beginner anymore, but you are definitely not fluent. You're just stuck.
And it is an incredibly frustrating place to be. I mean, you're putting in the work, but the results just seem to vanish.
So to help us figure this out, we're diving into a breakdown from the Pod English channel. It's called The Big Mistakes That Stop You from Learning English. But I want to say up front, even though the source is about English, the psychology here, it applies to almost anything difficult you're trying to learn.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The core message of this deep dive isn't really about vocabulary lists or, verb charts. It's about the human brain. It's about how we self-sabotage.
Okay.
The source argues that the reason you're stuck isn't because you're not smart enough. It's about methodology and, I think more importantly, psychology.
That's a bold claim, though, because when I fail to learn something, my first instinct is to blame my own intelligence. I say, oh, I just don't have the ear for it. Are you saying that's a cop-out?
I wouldn't call it a cop-out, but maybe a misunderstanding of how the brain actually acquires information. We have to unlearn bad habits just as much as we learn new words.
Unlearn bad habits.
Yeah, we have to shift the goalposts from being perfect to simply making progress.
Okay, so let's get into the weeds. The source starts with a reality check that, honestly, it made me feel a lot better about my own failures. It's about memory.
Right. The repetition reality.
Yes. The source says that to actually remember a new word, lock it in so you can use it, you need to see or hear that word between 5 and 16 times.
5 to 16. And that's just the average. For some people, or, for more abstract ideas, it could be even more.
But let's be honest, how many times do we usually give ourselves?
Once. Maybe twice if you're feeling generous.
Exactly. I see a word on a flashcard, I flip it over, I say, okay, got it. And then 2 days later, I reach for that word in a conversation and poof, it's gone. And what do? I beat myself up.
And that is the trap. You're judging yourself based on a completely unrealistic biological expectation. We kind of treat our brains like computers,
Like a hard drive.
Yeah, like I saved the file, it should be there.
But the brain is a muscle. You don't do one bicep curl and expect to have huge arms. You need reps.
So if I forget a word after seeing it 3 times, I haven't failed. I'm just on rep number 3.
Precisely. You're still in the warm-up. And this whole expectation of instant perfection, it creates so much unnecessary friction. Which brings us to this central analogy, which I found fascinating. It compares the adult learner to a baby.
Yes, the baby comparison.
Yeah.
Because babies are the ultimate language learning machines,
Well,
right? They're geniuses at it. But have you ever actually, watched a baby learn to speak?
It's a total mess.
It is chaos. They babble, they use wrong word orders, they invent words, they'll point at a cow and call it a dog.
Yeah.
They're making mistakes literally every single time they open their mouth.
But, and this is the key difference, nobody stops the baby and says, excuse me, your grammar is atrocious. You should probably stop trying.
Exactly. We clap, we get excited because they communicated something. They get positive reinforcement for trying, for being imperfect. But fast forward 20, 30 years, you're an adult. You say a sentence with the wrong verb tense. What happens inside your head?
Oh, I turn bright red. I feel shame. I feel like a complete idiot.
And that shift is fatal to learning. As adults, we develop this crushing fear of mistakes. We attach our ego to being competent. The baby focuses on connection. The adult focuses on perfection.
And that perfectionism is the wall. That's what stops us.
It creates a barrier where fear stops your progress, not a lack of ability. The source material identifies 4 specific traps that come from this mindset. And I think if we can walk through them, our listeners can probably see which one they're stuck in.
Let's do it. Trap number 1. The source calls it the fear of speaking. I think a better term is maybe analysis paralysis.
This is the scared student phenomenon. The person who's been studying for 2 years, they know the grammar rules inside and out. They can read a novel. But if you ask them, how are you? They freeze.
I have been this person. It's terrifying. But what's actually happening in the brain during that freeze?
It's a processing overload. So you want to say a simple sentence. But before you open your mouth, your brain's internal editor kicks in.
Mind editor.
And you start checking everything. Is that the right preposition? Is my accent? Okay, wait, is that a regular or irregular verb? You're running a full grammar check in real time.
And while you're doing all that,
The moment is gone. The conversation has moved on. And you're still silent.
that's tragic. The source calls this locking your skills in your head. You have the input, you understand everything, but you've blocked your own output.
And the irony is, by trying so hard to avoid making a mistake, you end up not speaking at all. Which, arguably feels worse.
So how do we break this loop? Because just telling someone, don't be afraid, is useless advice.
You're right. You need a cognitive reframe. The source suggests we need to fundamentally redefine what a mistake even is. Successful learners don't see mistakes as failures. They see them as data.
Data.
You think about it. When you make a mistake and someone looks confused, that's not a moral failing. It's a signal. Your brain goes, okay, that didn't work. Let's adjust. Without the mistake, there's no adjustment.
So silence is actually the worst possible state because you're getting 0 data points.
Exactly. Even native speakers stumble. We say, we forget words, we restart sentences, we just self-correct and keep going. That resilience is the goal.
Okay, but let's get practical. If I'm paralyzed by this fear, how do I start generating this data without having a panic attack? The source has some low-pressure ideas.
The best one, and it sounds a little strange, is to talk to yourself.
I do this, it works, but you do have to get over feeling like you're going crazy.
You do? But think about it. When you're alone, just narrate what you're doing. I am chopping the carrots. I am boiling the water. It builds that connection between your brain and your mouth without any social pressure.
You're just building the muscle memory.
Yes. Another one is the 2-minute record. Just record yourself on your phone talking about your day for 2 minutes, and then you listen to it.
Oof, that's painful. Listening to your own voice is bad enough in your native language.
It is cringy, for sure. But it is such high-quality feedback, and the best part, you can delete it immediately. No one else ever has to hear it.
I like that. It's a safe way to practice. Okay, let's move to trap number 2. And this is for all the academics and perfectionists out there. The grammar study trap.
Or as the source puts it, thinking like a computer.
Now, hang on. We're not saying grammar doesn't matter, are we?
Of course not. But the trap is the belief that memorizing rules is the path to fluency. It's the difference between knowing about the language and being able to use the language.
Okay.
A computer processes language by applying rigid rules. If subject is singular, then verb must have S. It's a calculation.
But human conversation isn't a calculation.
No, it's jazz. It's music. If you're pausing mid-sentence to mentally conjugate a verb, you're killing the flow. You become robotic.
So if we're not supposed to think like a computer, how should we think?
Like a child or a musician, you want to develop a feeling for what sounds right. A native speaker rarely quotes a grammar rule. They just say, I don't know why, that just sounds weird.
That sounds weird. It's basically the highest law of grammar.
It is. And you only develop that ear by seeing and hearing the language in real situations, in context.
So the fix isn't to burn your grammar books.
No, not at all. It's to change how you use them. Don't just read the rule. If you're learning the past perfect, go find a story that uses it. See why the author used it. Connect the grammar to the meaning.
And the source also mentions prioritizing simple structures first. I think we get obsessed with fancy grammar because we want to sound smart.
The Shakespeare syndrome. But true fluency is about communicating complex ideas with simple tools. You can have incredibly deep conversations using just the basic tenses if you're confident with them.
I love that. Complexity can wait. Okay, let's go to trap number 3. And this one is probably harder now than ever before. The comparison trap.
The social media illusion. This is just poison for motivation.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. You're scrolling online, you see a video, how I became fluent in 3 months, and the person is speaking perfectly, no accent, and suddenly your own progress feels tiny.
It's devastating. The source calls this the iceberg effect.
Break that down.
On social media, you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg, the polished final result. You are not seeing the massive chunk of ice underwater.
Right.
You're not seeing the thousands of hours, the bad accent days, the confusion, the years of frustration that went into it.
Or their personal context. Maybe that person lives in London. Maybe their partner is a native speaker.
Exactly. Everyone has a different starting line. Comparing your behind-the-scenes struggle with someone else's highlight reel is it's completely irrational.
But it has a real psychological effect. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It does. You see that perfect speaker, you think, I'm not talented enough. So your motivation drops. You study less, your progress slows, and then you say, see, I knew I was bad at this.
So we have to put the blinders on.
The only person you should be comparing yourself to is you from yesterday.
The source suggests keeping a progress journal.
Yeah, but not just for vocabulary lists. Track your wins. Write down. Today I watched a YouTube video and I understood the main joke. Or I ordered food and didn't have to repeat myself.
We forget those wins so quickly.
Instantly.
Yeah.
We normalize our new skills. As soon as you learn something, you feel like you always knew it. You need that journal to look back and say, wow, 6 months ago I couldn't even say that sentence.
That makes sense. Okay, we're down to the final trap. Trap number 4. And this one is sneaky because it feels productive, but it's not. The passive learning trap.
Or the couch potato problem.
This is me. I watched 3 seasons of a TV show with subtitles. I am studying so hard.
It feels like you're doing work, right?
Yeah.
You are hearing the language. And look, input is crucial. But the source makes a very sharp point here. Skills only work one way if you only practice them one way.
Meaning?
If you only practice listening, you'll get great at listening. But that skill doesn't automatically transfer to speaking. The neural pathways for understanding and for producing language are different.
They use a cooking analogy that I thought was brilliant.
Oh, the MasterChef analogy. Yes. You can watch cooking shows for 10 years, you can memorize every recipe, but until you walk into a kitchen, pick up a knife, and physically chop an onion yourself, you cannot cook.
And you are definitely going to cut your finger the first time you try.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
You can't learn a physical skill, and speaking is physical through passive observation. You need output.
So how do we turn a Netflix binge into active learning? Because I'm not going to stop watching Netflix.
You don't have to. You just have to change how you watch. The source suggests something called the echo method.
Walk us through that.
It's simple, but it's intense. You watch a scene, pause it after a character says a line, and you repeat exactly what they said.
Great.
But, and this is key, don't just say the words. Mimic the emotion, the speed, the rhythm. If they're yelling, you yell.
So you're basically acting.
You're acting. This forces your brain to process the music of the language, not just the words. It bridges that gap between hearing and speaking.
Another technique they mentioned was the summary method.
Yeah, this is great for checking comprehension. After you finish a video or an article, just stop. Take 2 minutes. Write a short summary in your own words, or just say it out loud to your empty room.
It forces you to actually synthesize the information.
Exactly. It turns passive consumption into active reconstruction.
And there's one more output technique that is the ultimate test: teaching.
Yes. Explain a new concept to someone in English, even if they don't understand English.
Wait, really? Even if they don't understand?
Yeah, because the value is in you having to organize your thoughts to explain it. When you have to explain how something works, you find out very quickly if you actually understand it yourself.
So the equation for breaking the plateau isn't just more input, it's input plus output.
Always. You have to balance consumption with creation.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. We've got the 4 traps: fear speaking, the grammar trap, the comparison trap, and passive learning.
And when you look at them all together, it really highlights that the barrier to fluency isn't usually the language. The barrier is us. It's our own fears and our habits.
The source wraps up with a golden rule, a mantra.
Practice makes progress, not perfection.
I love that. We always hear practice makes perfect, but that's kind of damaging, isn't it?
It sets an impossible standard. Perfection is a myth. Practice makes progress, is achievable. It gives you permission to be messy. The goal isn't to be flawless. It's just to be a little bit better than you were yesterday.
So let's recap the big shifts we need to make.
Okay, so first, shift from fearing mistakes to seeing them as learning data. Second, shift from studying grammar like a computer to feeling the rhythm like a musician.
Third, stop comparing your struggle to someone else's highlight reel. Focus on your own journey.
And fourth, move from being a passive consumer to an active producer. Don't just watch the cooking show, get in the kitchen and cook.
It really makes fluency feel so much closer, doesn't it? It's not about having a genius brain, it's about getting out of your own way.
Absolutely. If you stop trying to be perfect and just start trying to communicate, you will be shocked at how fast you improve.
So here's our challenge to you, the listener. Be honest with yourself right now. Which one of these 4 traps is holding you back the most? Are you the paralyzed student, the grammar computer, the scrolling comparer, or the couch potato?
Pick one. And immediately after this deep dive is over, do one specific active thing to break it. Record yourself for 2 minutes. Write a summary of this episode. Talk to your reflection in the mirror.
Just do something that involves output, because practice makes progress. Thanks for diving in with us.
Keep practicing. Goodbye.